Welcome everyone to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Jorge V. Gonzalez. He has a number one best-selling book, Answer the Call, Life Lessons from Family Origins through Invention of Struggle. George also shares his personal journey of reinvention. George, thank you so much for being on People on Dating. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, William. I'm super excited to be here with you.
No, it's my pleasure. So, George, tell us a little bit about your inspiration. What was your journey like to write this book? What was it? What was that aha moment that made you want to do this book? And it's a number one bestseller. So, talk more about that journey of yours.
Well, I've always wanted to write a book back in wow, half my life ago, 25 years ago.
Okay.
And the reason that happened was that my father was diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver when I was 25, and he was given 6 months to live when he was 45 years old, and we were able to maintain him for additional 8 more years. But the day that I went with him to the liver doctor, the surgeon, he said, "I want you to tell your father that he has 6 months to live." And then I turned to my father and said, "Dad," because my father didn't speak English.
Yeah.
The doctor says that you have 6 months to live. And he was just like in shock. He didn't say anything. He got up from the chair. He walked out of the doctor's office. And as I'm walking to the car, to the parking lot, I was like, this story has to be told. The consequences of substance abuse has to be told, and the collateral damage that a family is going to have to endure of losing a loved one, this story has to be told. But for 25 years, I really didn't get any opportunities to really share that story. But in 2021, during the pandemic, when I was called to write the book, I knew that that story had to be in my book. So that was really like always like the will and wanting to write the book was because of that story.
Wow, that's some story. I mean, and your father lived another 7 or 8 years, you
Eight
said.
years, eight
Wow.
years.
And it's incredible, right? Sometimes the doctors could be wrong, it's I'm glad you got at least another 8 years out of him. That's incredible. So, and today's topic is reinventing ourselves. And somebody might say, well, how does that apply to dating? It applies to dating 100%. you know, um, so and when you started thinking about reinventing, ourselves and your journey, my journey, uh, what was like some of the thing that again that aha moment? Was there like were you a certain way at when you were younger, and then as you got older, you took stock of yourself and said, "Wait a minute, I can't be this way anymore." It's being self-aware. I'm assuming is that like how your journey went.
I think, I mean, for me, and I think for a lot of us, we know that we're special and we're gifted, and we know that we have a higher calling on ourselves. We know that.
Right.
But sometimes because we're young and we haven't lived life yet, we actually think that we're making things up in our mind, but in reality, it's not. It's like he was, I believe that our creator, God, gave us these abilities to know certain things. It's almost like our senses, right? And but we discard them. But as we go through life, we realize that we go through some struggles and lessons. We always like, wait a minute, that was useful. It was painful, but it was useful. And now when I'm reinventing myself and doing something different, which a lot of us don't call it reinventing, but is that's exactly what it is you bring the experience of the knowledge forward. And now we're not starting from scratch. We're starting from experience and from the lessons learned from the previous situations that we went through, whether it's a job, career, some catastrophic life event like my father's event and stuff like that. We're new people. We're reinventing ourselves. And in dating, it's the same thing in dating.
Yeah, talking about that. I remember George. I was dating this woman about 4 or 5 years ago, and I remember after you know, pretty much we went our separate ways a couple of years later, maybe less than 2 years later. And I'm telling you, George, had to sit back and realize how I was. Why wasn't it working? What did I do wrong? What can I do right? And part of the reinventing for me was reading books, looking at things online about dating. How can I improve myself? Now, mind you, I'm in my late 50s, and it's never too late. That's one thing I thought about, and uh, and then I just started noticing how I was and how I'm not saying I didn't give a damn anymore, but I wasn't tiptoeing to spare that other person's feelings. In other words, I wanted to be myself, but where I could be without restrictions. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that because during the pandemic, I had to do a lot of soul searching myself, and a lot of the soul searching was about dating. So I was following people and getting dating advice from people that are known life coaches of dating. Some were females, some were males, and I try to grab all this information and really digest it. And okay, was it really me that was at fault here, or was the other individual? And to be completely honest with you, I realized that it wasn't really my fault. Now, it was my fault that I had zero tolerance and I ended it, but it was their fault because they thought that because I'm a nice guy, which I'm not a nice guy, I'm a good man that has the ability to beat up people if I need to. So that's not a nice guy because a nice guy won't beat up anybody. A good man will, right? So they confuse that part of me for
Mhm.
weakness. So now I've had to set up like healthy boundaries and stuff like that. What do I tolerate? What I don't. It's almost like we sit down, we have a checklist and go, look, I'm gonna let you know this is why it didn't work out with me before. And women, for whatever reason, think that they can control me, but I'm a strong man, so you can't control me. I have to be masculine, which means you have to be in your feminine, because if not, we're gonna clash. Because I was raised by strong men, my grandparents, my parents, and uncles. So I'm not a weak man by any means. I'm a
Yeah,
strong man.
I
So
like.
just be,
Yes, I'm sorry, George. I didn't mean to cut you off. I like what you said. A good man versus a nice guy. So we'll touch base on that. So go ahead, please. I don't want to
yeah.
lose. I don't want
And
you to lose your train of thought.
and then also what I realized is that a lot of the females today, like especially when you get to our, I mean, I'm 51,
Yeah,
right? And I've been single, got divorced about 11, 12, going on to almost 13 years now.
yeah,
I've dated some girls and stuff like that. A lot of these women, they wanted a lifestyle. They want
mhm,
you to take care of them financially and pay for the things that they're supposed to be responsible for. You're not even married yet. You're not even like really committed 100% yet, but yet they want you to do these. And the moment that you pull back, you're the bad guy.
yeah,
I said, wait a minute, those are your needs, not mine. You
right.
know, I cut my own hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't got much, but I cut my own hair, so I'm not gonna go pay somebody. I don't get my nails done. There's certain things that I do to maintain myself,
yeah,
but that's my responsibility, not your responsibility. So why is it my responsibility to take care of your responsibilities and your needs that you need?
right. And a
We're,
woman
we're
on
not
and
really we're not really committed here. Now, another thing too, that if I don't have no kids with you, how can you demand me to take care of you when, I mean, we don't even have kids together? Now, with my ex-wife was different because we were married and stuff like that. We had a child together, stuff like that. I was responsible for my family. But at this point, we're not even a family yet, and you're telling me that I'm supposed to be responsible for these things? I don't think so. It's not the way it works.
yeah, I noticed that too in the dating trend of the younger modern dating, where women have set such high standards and excuse me, and it's more like you say, it's a lifestyle. That's what they
Yeah.
want. They want the lifestyle. Not all women, but some women do that. Man, sorry about that. I see that even some of my female friends that are a few years younger than me are demanding a lifestyle, and I see where women say, hey, if I'm going to go to, to get my hair done and my nails done, the first thing you should say is how much. No, I agree with you. I mean, if we're dating after a few years, then you know what? Then I might chip in or I might buy it, but I'm not going to do it like the first 3 to 6 months. I'm still getting to know you. Um, and I think that's part of it too. I wanted to get back to it, the good man versus a nice guy, because I think, uh, especially some women, they take advantage of that. They know you might not fight back, or you might not verbally say, "Hey, I don't like this" and all that. So, part of the reinvention of ourselves, how do we set boundaries then? Do we just lay it on the line at the beginning, or during the relationship we start setting those lines? How would you go about setting those boundaries at the beginning? This way, any particular woman doesn't take advantage of, like you said, the nice guy.
What I've learned through all my research, and what happens with me is that whenever I'm researching something, I really dive deep in it, like really to the core. It's almost, it becomes an obsession to me. So and then I was getting it from both sides, from males and female coaches. So but what I do now is that I put it on the table up front. Like this is who I am, this is what you are gonna expect from me, and this is what I expect from my partner. Look, if it's not you, don't try to make it fit like it is you. Try to pretend it is you, because it's not you. Because we're gonna have a problem. You're gonna waste months, maybe some years, and then all of a sudden you're gonna get back into the dating pool and you're gonna be older and your value diminished, wasting your time thinking that you're gonna change me, because you're not gonna change me. I am who I am. So don't try to pretend that you're somebody, because I'm not going to do that. Because for me, I think the most precious thing in life is time. And we're running out of that. As days progress, months progress, years progress, we're running out. So I don't want to waste my time with you, my precious years, when I can go over out with somebody else that's really genuine, that fits what I who I am,
Yeah.
and then we move forward, and hopefully along the long term, hopefully that's it. This will be the last person that we ever date. But let's not try to pretend to be somebody that we're not and waste precious years from each other. That's not fair to anyone, not you or me.
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Pretending to be someone else, and I was like that, George. We're talking with George V. Gonzalez, reinventing ourselves. He also has a best-selling book called "Answer the Call: Life Lessons from Family Origins Through Invention of Struggle." Did I get that right? Invention of
Yes.
struggle. Yeah. So, and we'll definitely talk more about the book in a minute. Um, and it's funny because I felt that way again when I was younger. That I felt like I had to hold back, because I like to laugh, I like to joke around, I like to be, I just like to joke around and have fun. And I felt with certain women, I had to be a certain way, and I didn't feel comfortable. Um, and I felt like, thinking about it now, it seemed like I reinvented myself to go backwards, not forward. Um, do you find that with people you talk to that they might do that, like hold back who they really are, in fear of, or maybe people pleasing? Oh, I don't like guys that do this, or friends that do that. I like people to be always at an even keel. Is that possible without
I
hurting ourselves?
yeah, I have reached the point in my life where I'm trying to build a legacy and an empire. That's all I care about.
Right.
And either you fit or you don't fit in in that lifestyle, in that life that I'm trying to build. Now, when I say lifestyle, I'm not saying it's all this flashy stuff. I'm talking about I'm gonna change the world kind of lifestyle.
Right.
I'm here for a purpose, for this is the calling of my life. If you want to be part of that adventure, let's do this. If you don't want to be part of that adventure, you don't want to travel, I'm gonna be on stages, on podcasts, and this and that, and helping and coaching people. If you don't want to be part of that, don't waste your time, because you're not going to pull me away from it, because this is what I'm being called to do. And the reason I say that is because there was females along the way that wanted me not to do certain things, that I knew that this is what I was being called to do.
Yes.
Like don't work so much, don't read so many books, don't look at so much personal development. I was like, wait a minute, I'm feeding my personal development, I'm feeding my soul, I'm feeding myself of all this wisdom and knowledge. What do you mean don't do that? I need that. That's my arsenal. Those are my bullets when I get into the next chapter, that I need to have all these things in my foundation, my background, to be able to communicate with people the things that are needed in society. So how can you tell me not to dig deep in that stuff? Therefore, you're not the right person.
Wow. I mean, you hit it right on the head, because I went through that a couple of times. One time, this is maybe 10, 12, 13 years ago. This is a woman that, we talked about marriage and all that. And she wanted me to pursue a certification in a field that I was in. Um, and, I remember I studied and all that. And I remember, George, I finished reading the book and I said, you know what? I don't like this. I'm not feeling it. And, when I told her, we got into an argument, you should do this, blah, blah, blah. I wanted to get into real estate back then. Oh, I don't know why. Again, she pulled me away from certain things that I wanted to do. Then it happened again about 4 or 5 years ago. Different woman, same scenario. I wanted to pursue something different in real estate. She pulled me into her web. And again, I just I felt out of place. Again, after that relationship, the one 4 or 5 years ago, that's when I told you I took stock of myself. I started reading, researching, and I just said I can't do this anymore. I have to be who I am, and just what you said. If you're not in my program, then we're not a fit.
Hmm.
Um, and talk more about that, George, about being a fit. You talk to someone, you talk to a woman or whatever, and do you gauge right away that they're on the same program as you, or again, I guess it takes experience to know. You hear what they say and watch what they do. Does that make sense? What I said?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, one thing is that we really have to be observant, and we really need to be honest with ourselves. Are we trying to also make them fit in that program, like you said, because they're beautiful, they got a great personality, they're funny, they make you feel good? Or are they not that person, but we're just seeing like the good things about them, but we're not seeing the negative parts that are going to affect us in our calling, in the things that we're supposed to do in our business and our career?
Right.
It's going to sabotage it, because I tell you this with all honesty, the moment that they sabotage your career and anything, and financially you take a step down, they will leave you,
Mm,
because they want a certain lifestyle. Now,
yeah.
they may or may not have done it on purpose, but unfortunately, the moment that you come down a level, they're already looking, you know what, this is not going to work out, because obviously they're not going to give me the lifestyle that I need. They're not going to give me what I want, because they just came financially down another level. I'm trying to be with somebody at these levels,
Right.
not people at these levels. And the thing is that this is the way women are programmed. Because when I was younger and I was driving, I was single, people looked at me because the car that I was driving when I was younger.
Yeah.
So if you think back all the way then, I had a nice watch, I was always working, I had money, I dressed pretty well for my age group. So people were attractive to me because the way I look and the way I presented myself. Now, then I got married and stuff like that, and then I was out of the dating pool for like 14 years.
Yeah.
And then when I came back out, I didn't realize that it was still like that. But it was different because the women, they're still looking for protection, they're looking for comfort, and they're looking for lifestyle. That's still what they're looking for.
Yeah. That
But
hasn't
they're not going to
changed.
tell you that. They're not going to
Yeah.
tell you that, you know. But the moment you tell them, look, I'm broke, I did some bad investments, or this guy robbed me, or stole some money from me, they're like, oh shit. They won't even tell you like, oh my God, what happened? It's gonna be okay. They don't even tell you that. They just stay quiet, remove themselves, and all of a sudden they're not calling you anymore. And you're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Then you try to call them. I'm speaking from experience. Then
Yeah.
you'll try to call them. It's like they're not reciprocating back again. But then they see you raise up again.
Um,
Yeah. So
as
so
soon as you
basic.
go down and then you go back up. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, but then when you come back up, here they come back again.
Yeah.
So it's obvious that they're looking for the lifestyle, and they're looking for you to be successful.
Yeah.
They're not going to tell you that. They say, "Oh my God, I'm looking for the one. I'm looking for love." They're not looking for love. They're not looking for the one, because I know women specifically and personally that they date people because of the lifestyle.
Yeah.
It's obvious.
Yeah, there's a book that I bought and read, and I heard this lady. Her name is Marnie Kinrys, and I think it says "Get Inside Her," the female perspective, and she talks about that in some of her interviews, that a woman likes a man with status, and like you said, it's dating a lifestyle. First of all, George, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to people on there. I really appreciate it. And before I let you go, talk more about your book. What was the inspiration? What was, again, that aha moment? And how long did it take you to write from let's say, when was the idea conceived to finish?
Well, the original idea, like I said, was 25 years ago. But in 2021, I was called to write the book during the pandemic. I
Wow.
had like this feeling that hugged me. This was God telling me, it's time to write the book. And I was obedient writing the book. And I was actually going to call the book American Inventor. But when I was finalizing the title, I heard this whisper that said, answer the call. So God told me that He wanted me to call my book "Answer the Call," and "Answer the Call" is about finding your gifts, your talents, and pursuing your life's purpose. That's what "Answer the Call" is. So, but from the moment that that feeling came over me to write the book, it only took me about 3 to 6 months to actually write the book.
Oh,
So it was
wow.
pretty quick because I already knew the stories that I wanted to talk about the book
Yeah.
and my experiences and stuff like that. Because I'm always coaching, mentoring people and stuff like that. I'm always telling my experience and my wisdom. So I knew that this was an opportunity to put all that stuff together in a book. And when we launched it in 24 hours, it became a bestseller. And I was super excited, humbled, and giving a free copies away of my book.
Yeah.
And even now, I mean, if people find me on my social media platforms under my name, you can actually download a free copy of my book. So this is for all readers.
Ah, okay. I definitely, yeah, please. Definitely, I'll put that on the show notes. And anything else you would like to promote?
I just want people to understand that we're all given a gift, a talent, and a life's purpose. And we're also being called to really answer the calling on our lives. And we're all going to go through struggles. We're all going to go through setbacks. Through some of us are going to go through some stuff worse than others. But let's not give up because there's an opportunity there to reinvent yourself to become even a greater person than you were before that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And if somebody wanted to get in contact with you, what's the best way?
The best way is under my social media platforms under my name at George underscore V Gonzalez. And like I said, if you go to my bio, you got all my stuff there, and definitely download a free copy of my book. It's a gift to everybody.
No, it sounds good. I'll definitely put that on the show notes. Well, first of all, again, George, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to people on the. I really, really appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. Bye bye.